Now that we learned about private and public, I also want to turn name into a private property. And now here we have a little bit of a, not really an issue, but a little bit of an inconvenience. We have that name field here, then we get a value for it here in the constructor, and then we store that value for that field here in the constructor in the field. We can do that, and it's certainly very clear what we're doing here. But in a lot of use cases, you'll have a lot of classes where all the properties you have, all the fields you have, are initialized in the constructor. And therefore, often, you might find yourself writing a couple of properties, a couple of fields like this at the top, no matter if they're private or public. And then you just repeat all of that down there in the constructor, just to then initialize these values here in the constructor function. You don't have to do that. Instead of doing this double initialization code here, you can get rid of your field definitions up there, and now you see we would get an error, but you can also get rid of this here, and instead now simply add the access modifier in front of the parameter. So if it should be public, add public. Let's say for the name, we keep it public now. If it should be private, add private. Here you have to add public because this now is an explicit instruction for TypeScript that tells TypeScript that you want to not just get these arguments here in the constructor, but that you want to create properties for this class with the exact same names. And therefore here we should also rename n to name so that a name property is created on the created class. So this is simply a shortcut for this double initialization code here, where you had to find your fields and then stored the value. Now we're doing it all in one go. We define which arguments the constructor takes, and then for every argument which has such an access modifier in front of it, a property of the same name is created, and the value for the argument is stored in that created property. So now we just have to fix our department creation here and add an ID, because I added this new argument. And now what you'll see is that when we call describe down there, and I do actually output the ID there as well, maybe by changing this department to use a string literal here, department this.id, and then here this.name, you will see that this all still works. It compiles without errors here. Here we get the output with our ID and with our name. Because of that little shortcut, we also saved some code for all of that.